let's move on. Let's talk about Colorado. We're not going to talk about their quarterback room. We're talking about their wide receiver room, and it is loaded. It is loaded. And you know what? And saying this in spring is pretty dangerous, right? Because you never know who's going to emerge, especially in college football. You see new names pop up every single year, right? But the dangerous thing to say is this NFL draft has an unprecedented level of talent at the wide receiver position coming out. I don't know that there will be elite wide receivers in college football next year, but I don't know. You don't know who they're going to be, right? And you don't know how many of them there are. There might not be that many of them. There might not be that many wide receiver rooms that are as elite as some of the ones that we saw last year. I mean, there were some nutty elite wide receiver rooms last year. Where teams that are two wide receivers are going to get two, three wide receivers are getting drafted in the NFL. This is a case where two, three wide receivers on this team might get drafted to the NFL. Not necessarily next year, but over the course of time. You're looking at a guy like Travis Hunter, obviously. Okay, duh. One of one talent right there. Will Shepard coming over from Vanderbilt. Very
Awesome.
productive in that offense. And now London Humphreys sure was the more how do I say this? More
Moldable
promising,
future. He's a
higher
freak athlete. Leonard
upside.
Humphreys is a freak athlete. Will Shepard, mega productive at a place that's just not productive and conducive for wide receivers.
Absolutely. And then we haven't even brought up LeJontay Wester, who, by the way, led all of FCS, or sorry, all of G5 in college football fantasy points of wide receivers. If you want to talk about productivity there at FAU over there with Tom Herman, that's nuts. That's just those three. And then Jimmy Horn was a very productive wide receiver for them as well last year, and he's coming back again this year. Not to mention, you also get Draylon Miller, Marion Miller. Um, I know you like Terrell Timmons.
Oh yeah, guy 6'2", 220, 4.4 speed from NC State. A guy, just another, just like again, I don't know how Dion did it, and I think it's part of it is, hey, you saw Xavier Wheeler, you saw Travis Hunter last year, you saw Jimmy Horn, and maybe the plan is to play Hunter a little bit less on the wide receiver room because you have all these bodies, you don't need his presence there, even though it's probably a little bit better wide receiver than his cornerback, but regardless, like super valuable on the other side of the ball for you. I don't know how he did it in bringing all these talents there. I mean, everyone watched the USC game, right, with Marion Miller, just went off in the second half, kind of disappeared the rest of the year, but it's still in there for him,
He was a true
developing.
freshman.
It was a true freshman. And Traylon Miller, yes, he's a true freshman. What's the expectations? But another guy that Matthew knows all too well. Very, 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 very good player. And obviously, you mentioned the two transfers, and then just Jimmy Horn for throw him in there again. A guy we were high on last year coming out of USF, and a guy who was very productive when he was healthy last year for Colorado. And yeah, oh by the way, they have Dylan Edwards out of the backfield, who's also used as a slot receiver type guy, and Shador Sanders is there, and you know they're going to be racking up a lot of yards in that offense.
Yeah, it's just the way it's designed. And you know what's interesting? Like, can I just say that I think there's several more leaky secondaries in the Big 12 this upcoming year than maybe there were leaky secondaries in the Pac-12 last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I don't have the number of the teams in front of me, and I don't have Colorado's schedules in front of me, but I will say, look, maybe their offensive line again, another tape job, with transfers and a true freshman, Jordan Seaton, but this wide receiver group could go kind of nuclear this year, and Shedeur Sanders could go nuclear statistically again. He was already pretty nuts last year, and yeah, I mean, sure, you might not like what he says in the press conferences. You might not like Deion Sanders and what he says in the press conferences and how the team acts or whatever, but that is completely independent of the talent of this wide receiver room. This wide receiver room is loaded. It is
Mm-hmm.
loaded. I'm trying to think of like a more well-rounded, better wide receiver group in the country, and I don't know that I can. I mean, LSU's receivers room is going to be really good. Um, I don't know that I can. Ohio State
I
will be
don't
good. We already talked about them, but
I don't know many people that go six deep with guys that you just firmly believe are really, really impactful players for you.
yeah, I mean, Deion's
Seven deep.
loading his kid up.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And also, yeah, like you said, like the production is going to be there and the opportunities for these wide receivers. I think the O line will get better than last year. Last year was just awful. It's going to be a little bit better. It has to be. You just have to have faith in that because they brought in some nice pieces actually on the O line. And obviously Jordan Seaton will be raw, but he's obviously physically
And on the
talented.
D line too.
Yep, yep, oh for sure.
Samuel
But
Okunlola, Quincy
I do
Wiggins.
I do think it'll help that Shador can actually get through his progressions because that's one thing he's really good at actually is getting through his progression. So you can start using four wide receiver sets and everyone can be an option. And that can really put some stress on the defense. Not only, oh, you have to cover for 2.5 seconds because our DN is going to get to him because he's going to blow by whoever they trot out there at right tackle.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see because a lot of teams I think down the stretch of the season played a lot of cover two shells, like they played back and basically said, "Hey, we're gonna give you the numbers in the box if you want to run the ball, Colorado." And they said, "No, we're not gonna do that, and we're also gonna basically demote our really good offensive coordinator." So I mean, look, a lot of question
Who's
marks
got a head
there.
coaching job right now, which
Who
is
has who literally has a head coaching job, right? Just to gosh, I mean that's crazy. But the point is, this is a very talented receiver room. Whether or not they produce this year is it's up to them. It's up to that offense. I don't know how it'll work out, but it is loaded on paper.
yeah.
Absolutely.